Promise you the bar just as real as the bike though. Misunderstood, you could call me a typo. I shine hotter than the stars in the night though. Hate the who's, don't give me a title. Flipping an asset, so I don't worry the price though. Got scratched like Mino, leave it to the tribal. I ain't even trying to try though. I could do this with my eyes closed. If I got nothing on my goals, my girl ain't plastic, she don't even recycle. All these kids just wanna be idols. All these kids just wanna be rival. I need something way more than viral. I need something way more than viral. Gotta be something way more than idol. Be careful not to get too close, I might just go. Might just go.
Like a bomb in a room, blow up the spot, everybody gotta move. Life or death, everybody gotta choose. Life or death, not everybody gotta lose. I hear the talking, I just keep quiet. Learn to speak silent, don't yearn for violence. Was a little man, I turned into a giant. I changed the climate, every room that I'm in. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the baddest son of them all? Popping like I'm Adderall, bouncing like a basketball. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the baddest son of them all?
Be careful not to get too close, I might just go. Might just go. Might just go. We like to go. Boom. A few screws loose in the head, I'm a psycho. Promise you the bar just as real as the bike though. Misunderstood, you could call me a typo. I shine hotter than the stars in the night though. Hate the who's, don't give me a title. Flipping an asset, so I don't worry the price though. Got scratched like Mino, leave it to the tribal. I ain't even trying to try though. No losses, I don't do lipo. A few screws loose in the head, I'm a psycho. Promise you the bar just as real as the bike though. Misunderstood, you could call me a typo. I shine hotter than the stars in the night though. Hate the who's, don't give me a title. Flipping an asset, so I don't worry the something way more than idol. Be careful not to get too close, I might just go. Be on the narrative. Be on the narrative.
Best in class, so pray for my peers. Slingshot bullet, it's clear. Your weak shots couldn't pierce through bulletproof ears. A martyr, a menace. I'm leading horses to drink and pulling teeth like I'm feeding the dentist. Be on the narrative.
Thank you for watching our show. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date with all of our content. Thank you for watching. Welcome to another episode of The Crossover. Gentlemen, it's good to have you guys back. We took a little bit of a break just to let this play out, and then we can have a lot to talk about. So there is a lot to talk about. But before we get to that, today's episode is brought to you by BTN Connect, powered by Athlete Narrative, the all-in-one recruiting platform helping athletes get seen, get signed, and get to the next level. Gentlemen.
Yes.
OKC pulled it off. Man, just tough to see Tyrese Haliburton and what happened to him. I hate to see that in a Game 7. I thought the Pacers were going to give him a game. The Pacers went into the half with the lead, and the unfortunate happened.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Hallie. You know, throughout this playoffs, he's probably raised his reputation around the game. There was a time where they said that he was the most overrated player in the NBA, voted by the players. And I don't think 99% of the guys believe that anymore. seeing him go down like that, obviously he was playing through an injury, and when the season's on the line, usually guys will push through. But man, that calf is very vulnerable, especially to the Achilles, and we've seen it time and time again. We've seen the low top shoes. That's a little bit of the theme right now that people are talking about. But man, like, salute to the Pacers. They played a hell of a series. I thought OKC would win it in 6. And, man, Indiana just, they have a heart of a champion, though they aren't the champions this year.
Agreed. And they gave OKC all they could handle.
All they could handle.
You know what I mean? So, shout out to OKC. And, the way OKC's done this is impressive. They didn't put together a super team. They didn't do, they didn't go make a big acquisition. They traded Paul George. They blew that up. They got SGA in that trade. And they've built it within the inside organically. They've built that situation, and now they're in position to make a run.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to tip your hat to Sam Presti. Not only has he built this team from the draft, he's made strategic trades, right, to be able to, get all these different assets. And then he has the skill set to be able to determine the talent. He gets guys in there who buy into his program, who fit that mold, and then they go out and tweak the roster, and they go out and get, like a Hartenstein, and they go out and they get a Caruso, guys who embody that culture, and they have to pay them for that, right? Those guys got good contracts, but those were those pieces, those role pieces that all came together. So I love the way that they did it organically together, and it's big shout out to OKC.
Agree, Nev.
Congratulations.
Number of storylines. Obviously, the most obvious is, Haliburton going down. He had an incredible playoff run, man, and I don't think that guy has, man, heroic. He's become like heroic in NBA lore as far as his ride in the playoffs. What a sad thing to watch. And I think Indiana has a real puncher's chance, man, if he doesn't go down. And he came out house
Scorching.
on fire, man.
Yeah.
House on fire. That's the first thing. OKC, happy to see them win it. Would have been happy also if Indiana won it. Just forever they've been in it. I remember watching them in the ABA going back 100 years. But OKC, everything Katie said, spot on. We've been saying it for all of our shows. Sam Presti, incredible job. Really, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you do it. That's the blueprint right there. And built it from the ground up, made the trade, got rid of the heavy name, Paul George, whatever it was. And they imploded years ago, losing Westbrook, KD, and and James Harden, and came all the way back, man, from the bottom all the way up. And salute to them. And it's they're built for a ride.
I mean, they're the second youngest team in the shot clock era to win a championship. I think the Blazers were the other one in the 70s. But this team is set up to make a run here, a dynasty run.
Absolutely.
They're on a Golden State type run. Splash Brothers, Draymond Green type run. I mean, a lot has to happen, and it's not easy to repeat. But man, they're in position.
Right.
They are. I think financially retaining some of those guys. I think eventually J-Dub will be a max player. I think Homer will be a max player.
Yeah.
And so in a smaller market, you know what I mean, the luxury tax can get a little bit punitive.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, you want to run it back. So they'll get an opportunity to run it back. They don't have to deal with some of those things till down the line.
Yeah.
But they're positioned really well for the future because they have so many first-round picks. They still have a lot of young talent on the bench. So Sam Presti, I believe in his trained eye.
Right. And so even if they were to lose one of these guys, man, they're sitting on hella picks.
Right.
Right. Like the cupboard is not bare.
I think they got 9 top first-round picks or something like that in the next 2 years.
Yeah, something like that.
It's something crazy.
Yeah, the cupboard is definitely not bare.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So SGA wins the final. He gets put, with MJ, Kareem, Shaq as Triple Crown winners. Talk about SGA and what he has done at such a young age.
It's been great to see his development. Obviously, he's from Canada, but he played at one of the blue blood colleges for John Calipari at Kentucky. And so he has a real unique opportunity not only to impact his country back in Canada, but that region of the country as well in the Midwest that's kind of overlooked, right? That's really not known for basketball. And the way that he does it with style and with grace and with poise and with, precision. I think what you saw more so than anything from him is his stick-to-itiveness and his toughness and his leadership and his defense Like some of the things we always praise him for scoring and getting to the line and things like that, but I think he averaged a block and a half and 2 steals on the defensive end as well. And so he's a two-way player, and he's here to stay.
I'm really shocked at his evolution. You know, I'm a Kentucky fan, right? And he just was, you know, one of those guys because they get so many dudes in that situation, and it's just easy to overlook a dude. And like his evolution for me is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like I can't believe he's reached this pinnacle of stature in the NBA.
Yeah.
And doing it at the age he's done it at. I mean, what's the next 10 years going to look like for him?
It's going to look like $1 billion for him.
Right. Yeah.
That's right.
When it's all
That's
said and
exactly
done.
what it's going to look
And
like.
he's become the face of the NBA now, right? I think he's taking over that mantle.
I think so.
Yeah, he's got the acronym SGA. Like it all fits.
It all
man.
fits him, yeah.
Yeah. And he's a good man off the court. You look at his
can tell.
family, you look at his girl, you look at his baby. You know, you look at his pops and the pride that he has.
Yeah.
Like he's really
He's a
representing.
guy that's very easy to get behind.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like he doesn't play that villain role. I think Haliburton plays more of that villain role. But yeah, he's a unbelievable kid, and he's just so impressive. You know, one of the things that impresses me is when he interviews.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Andy.
Why is
You've
that?
been on Haliburton from the jump.
You have.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
let's
have.
really.
You have.
You know what I mean?
You know, I can, not that I'm a basketball expert, but I can just see when people make impacts, and not only in sports, but in companies, right? And he's a guy that I saw impacted his team, and, you know, he gets everybody involved. And,
First
and
round,
that,
you called it.
Yeah.
You called it.
Yeah,
First
well,
round.
thanks.
Yeah.
You know, Andy Industrious.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've been a fan of his for a while, and I just hate to see him go down like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, moving on to what the East looks like, you got Dame Lillard that's hurt, similar injury. You got Tatum with a similar injury. Before we get into what the East looks like, what do you think is causing these injuries? Because it's more prevalent than ever seeing these Achilles injury. Me suffering one myself.
Yeah. I mean, it's the hurt business, number one, right? Anytime you're in sports and athletics and you have to run that fast, cut that much, jump that high, and do it for long durations of time, you know, you risk injury. At one point, it was knee injuries that guys were having to deal with, but the Achilles is something that is, you know, getting more and more popular. I think when you see those guys playing in low tops, I think like us old school guys be like, I don't know about playing in low tops. I don't know if it's the training that they're doing now. I know that the training is cutting edge, and they're doing a lot of great things with recovery and things like that. But ultimately, it's the hurt business, and it happens.
Yeah,
and
you know,
when I'm sorry, Andy, to finish the point, when you have a calf injury, you're more susceptible. The way that Kevin Durant was. The same thing happened to Haliburton.
Funny you mentioned that, because when it happened to him, I'm sitting there and he played in Game 6, and I'm like, shit. I said to myself, I'm like, please God, because I know where this could go. Because I experienced it myself.
It's
It
connected.
first started with my calf, and then a couple years later, there goes the Achilles. So, man, I just feel terrible.
Yeah, you know, I think for me, one of the things that I've been dead set against for a while is I just think 82 games is too much, and that's my opinion. I think it's been, and I'm going back to like when I used to go before my situation, when I used to go to the Heat games and sit on. I'm like, man, there's just too many games, man. There's just too many games.
But it's a revenue thing, you know. It's not going to go away.
100%. No, it's the same thing like the 19 game schedule, 18 game schedule in the NFL now. They're going to milk it for every revenue they can get, but I think that's a big part of it. And
so here's the question: at what point is enough? You're making billions and billions of dollars. At what expense do you want to grab that money? Because at that point, it's not caring about the players; it's caring about making money.
Yeah, I don't think it ever changes. I mean, ultimately, the generations before played 82 games, and you know, guys have legacy on the line, right? So
but I
you
mean,
wanna
more
crack it.
football. You know, they want to go to 19 games. Do you think that's fair to the players?
Well, you know, the NFL have never really been fair to their players.
Right.
oh my God,
You know, like they still won't guarantee contracts. You got a kid in the draft who you took high in the draft, and you're putting language in there that kind of, you know, is like never been done before, and it'll set precedent in that league. And so everybody will pretty much, you know, implement those contracts. So he's got to stand up and fight, and like it's tough, man. It's tough.
Business. It's a business.
But it's business at the end of the day.
No question about it, man.
It is. So looking ahead to the East, who's the viable coming out of the East? I would have said Pacers going into next season, but Haliburton's going to be out all season. Celtics got their issues with Tatum. Milwaukee has their issues. So who's going to take that mantle next year? Is it the Knicks now that may slide in there?
Personally, I think it's Cleveland. I think they crapped out this year and got a lot to prove. And Donovan Mitchell, I know Katie's a big fan. I think he's got to go next level.
Yeah,
because he's a great regular season option, but he can't get his team to the next level in the playoffs. Not to say he doesn't do his part, but if you're going to be that guy and you're going to be that leader, it's on you.
Yeah, Spiders got to get out of that first round. There's
right?
No doubt about that. I think Cleveland will be back in the mix. I think they'll still be a good team. This year, I don't think they'll be able to sneak up and surprise people. I think people will get up for them. I think they have to, it's not about the regular season. It's about going into the postseason healthy. But for me in the East so far, obviously we haven't had the draft yet. Free agency hasn't started yet, though trades are happening. I like to see it. The Orlando Magic.
I was about to say to you,
the Magic have really improved.
Man.
They got a serious shooting guard who's a weapon from the three-point line.
Desmond Bane.
He's mean as a rattlesnake. He's tough as nails. He can play. He can facilitate. He's durable, and he's hungry. He's hungry for this opportunity. So I think that move that the Magic made getting Desmond Bane is something I think that gives them scoring. They were 27th, I believe, last year in scoring, and they got a 20-point-a-night scorer on the offensive end, and he's equally as good on defense.
I just saw their lineup the other day, and after I got done talking about Cleveland, that was what I was going to say. You cannot discredit them. They are coming.
Oh, yeah.
And they got a nice young guy.
And Ben Charles, their marquee guy.
Absolutely.
I saw their lineup with Wagner. Oh man, they're nice.
And if he can be healthy,
man.
Like I'm telling you, they got a big three over there.
Yeah,
right.
I'm telling you, Wagner is that good.
Nice mob.
Paolo is probably one of the top 3 or 4 best young players in the league. I think he'll take another leap this year. And getting Dez, man, I think that's really going to help that team.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
So let's get into the KD trade. This show is brought to you by BTN Connect, powered by Athlete Narrative. Parents, you're probably spending thousands and thousands of dollars trying to get your kid recruited and going nowhere fast. But with this app for $15 a month, solves all the headaches that you're going through. And this app is backed by AI, which saves you a ton of time, and you don't have to write manually and trying to track these coaches down. Be sure to hit the link in our description or in our bio. Sign KD up to the Rockets. He found out at Fanatics sitting in on a interview podcast, I guess. So KD, I mean, what are your thoughts on that trade? The Heat were in the mix. The Heat didn't want to give up, the young talent they had, Jaime Jaquez Jr. They had, Nikola Jokic and a lot of picks mixed in there. And I think Highsmith as well.
Yeah,
they didn't want to give him up. So do you think the Heat missed an opportunity here to get?
No,
KD?
not necessarily. I mean, look at the going price for Luka and look at what KD went for, right? I wouldn't personally revamp a whole team, give up that many draft assets for somebody at this particular age, because I don't think he takes you to a championship on the Heat. I think they still need something else if he was to come, right?
Right.
Yep.
But I do like him going to the Rockets. I do like that pick, that landing spot for him. I think they're young, they're talented, they got a hungry coach, they play defense. Texas is a tax-free state, so he'll see a little bit more of his money. He can mentor and be a role model and show those guys what professionalism looks like. And then also those young guys can make him a little bit more youthful and get him back to playing fast and things like that. So I think that's a good match.
And he's bringing veteran leadership that team needs.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Great spot. I think it was a great spot for him. The only other spot I would have thought, like if he could have possibly landed, would have been like a Minnesota. And they would be, I think that would have put them right where they need to be.
Yeah.
But who knows what they would have had to give up? So then you tinker with that. But Houston, young dogs, man. I see them in OKC going toe to toe.
Yeah.
Throw Minnesota in that mix. You got a nice 3-pack.
Yeah,
Denver, I think, is on the way down.
The West is always loaded.
Yeah, man.
So do you think the Rockets gave up too much, or this is like, you know what, we're gonna take our chance?
Yeah, they're going for it right now. Ultimately, Kevin Durant, his window is kind of closing. I mean, he's still a guy who can go out and get 30 a night. So you got to respect that. I think he brings that pedigree and that confidence that these young guys and that experience that these young guys have maybe missed out on in the playoffs. And I think they'll take another leap. I think they were second last year in the West.
Do you think they have enough to get through OKC?
Well, it just depends on what they do with Fred VanVleet, right? I don't know if if they pick up the team option. I don't know if they re-sign him at a lower number, because you got to factor in the cap and things like that. But I think they're positioned well. I just still believe OKC is the favorite next year until you beat the champs.
Yeah, no, you have to.
They're the favorite.
Yeah, and they've done it, so that monkey's off their back.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Right, like they did it. There's no, they're not carrying heavy weight. Like,
Yeah.
man, we got to win this thing. We're close. We're close. They did it.
Yeah.
And so I think it gets easier in that regard. The pressure's off. OKC's the favorite, and I just saw Vegas. They're the front runner. They're actually the shortest favorite since the 2018 Golden State. So that means Vegas is big.
They all on it. They all over it.
Yeah.
But big shout out to KD, because he put in work everywhere he's gone. I think he gets criticism, and at the end of the day, we are in the sports business, and it's our job to talk right about what it is that you do. But he hung in there with Phoenix. They found a good landing spot for him. So I just think that situation ended in a good way, and they gave him his flowers on the way out.
Yeah, I think they handled it well, and they did right by KD.
Yeah, they hooked him up.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
really did.
They did. They put him in a really good situation.
Yeah.
So, all right, moving on to the Florida Panthers. Two-time champion.
Wow. Amazing.
Incredible. I was there, man. Just unbelievable. The first one was a little bit more special. I was there for the first one, Game 7. But this one was just different, man. It was just now we're at the pedestal of hockey. They're talking about this team being one of the greatest teams in all of hockey.
That's amazing, man.
Right? In the history of
amazing.
hockey.
I love
How crazy is that? In South Florida.
That's amazing.
So I've been having this debate with people between this run or the Heat run. Obviously, the 72-73 Dolphins, we weren't. I wasn't alive for that. You were alive. Were you alive at that point?
Yeah, I was.
But you don't remember.
No one
you're a young
told
boy.
me, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, but that run, you could separate that.
Yeah.
Then the University of Miami run in the 80s was unbelievable, right, for South Florida. But that's college. But let's talk about professional sports. The two biggest runs we've had here are the Heat and this run by the Florida Panthers. And my argument is that this is more dominant and a better run than what the Miami Heat did. The Miami Heat went and built a big three. They were one Ray Allen shot away from being 1-3, right? And LeBron going into Game 6 and saving their ass. This thing could have gone very disastrous. And for the Panthers, it's been very organic, kind of like what OKC's done. And they've gone and plugged players like Kachuk, and then they brought in Brad Marchand. And in the first finals that they lost, they were the 8th seed. And then the next year they go back in, they win it, and then this year they go back to back. So I think it's more impressive what the Florida Panthers have done. They just don't get the notoriety because it's not sexy for us here in South Florida.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, but I want to see what your thoughts are. You boys are South Florida guys. What are your thoughts?
So we'll go in seniority age-wise. Right? So I'll start, okay? The Miami Dolphins undefeated season and that run is the greatest run in South Florida history. And it still stands to the test. I'm a Steeler fan, but it still stands the test of time. It's an undefeated team that no one's ever done in the NFL. So I see the Miami Dolphins as the number one sports, the best franchise we've ever had. The second one, I would say, is not professional, but the University of Miami. That run was just incredible. It was a Hells Angels cult classic team that was just dominant. 86-92, we were 78-6. We had a 58 home game winning streak, the best of all time. Yep. 3 national titles, 2 Heisman Trophy winners. Okay, I put them 3. I put 2. I put the Panthers 3, and I put that Miami Heat team 4th. And I agree with you. I say the Panthers have definitely been. It's just not as sexy as the Miami Heat.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just my ratings.
Yeah. Here comes KD.
Yeah, no, look, I want to give all of them their props, right?
No
Because
doubt.
at the end of the day, it's a win for South Florida.
No doubt.
And we can celebrate them all equally. We might have our different vantage points, what sport we like or what team we like or what time and space you were in that resonated in those moments. So I think all of those runs were incredible. For me, as a South Floridian, I love it because like it was 400,000 people out there celebrating the Panthers, right? We are becoming like how Boston is as a sports city, how New York is, but sometimes we get fragmented. And we'll hate and we'll criticize and all that. Like, look, it's South Florida at all times, baby. Right?
That's what
the
we
Marlins, you know what I mean? Like, from all across the board, we brought championships across many professional sports, college sports, high school sports.
Yeah, we're in the mix.
This is a championship type city.
We're in the mix.
And South Florida got something to say in sports.
Right.
Yeah,
I think the South Florida situation is that, I hate to say this, but we've been fucked so many times by these franchises and the shit they pull, like the Marlins, right? You win in the 93 and then they blow up the team.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, 97, and then they blow up the team. We win in 97. And in 2003, they win. They put that team together. They drafted a lot of those guys, actually. They go win it, then they blow it up again. So it's like, dude, at what point the Dolphins, with their shitty moves, right, can't, you know, I've been boycotting them since they took Tua instead of Herbert, but that's a whole different conversation for another day. So that's the problem. I don't think we develop trust in these organizations, right? The Heat's the only one that we kind of like trust in what they do. Yeah. That's why they're selling out. People are showing up, and I think the Panthers are starting to.
They got a brand.
They're getting a brand. Like guys, kind of like Heat culture. Now you got Panther culture.
No
you know
question,
what I mean?
Man.
And what's different about the Panthers culture is like really Fort Lauderdale, Broward County heavy.
Right.
And that's been something that like we would always, as being from Broward County, we would always have to go represent in Miami. So like to have a local team and for the community to show up, 400,000 people.
It's insane.
That's incredible. You know, and you know, honestly, when I saw you at the game, in the
Eastern Conference Final.
Yeah, you know, that's the first time I've been to a Panther game at that stadium, and man, it was so different for me. Like, what a vibe.
Yeah,
like, what a great vibe, man.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, I'm glad I went at least once to feel it, and you know, they're there.
And South Florida's starting to embrace it, right? Because I was like, last year, Game 7, we won it. You were going the streets, there was nobody out celebrating. Now this time, La Carreta, the pots and pans came out.
Yeah.
Like, that's South Florida sports for you, right? Like, we jump on the bus, right?
can't be
and now we're gonna talk.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna start talking shit.
Yeah,
That's what we
exactly.
do.
That's what we do. It's the best, man.
I want to get it in real quick here.
Yeah.
Got to side with KD. Miami Heat, let's not forget, they had a 27-game win streak going on when they won.
Yeah, still, listen, I'm sorry. They win, they built that shit, they paid for it, they colluded, they did everything they had to do to get that big 3 here, and they were one Ray Allen shot away for fucking being 1-4. Let's call it what it is, all right?
They colluded.
Yeah, they colluded in fucking, you know, in the Olympics. But anyways,
KD,
I wasn't there, but I heard.
Let them go off on it.
Yeah, so please, this is a completely different vibe. These guys are going all into their prime. They're going to keep them together. Sam Bennett's coming back, all right? Marchand said he's coming back. They're not fucking leaving. They're fucking staying, and we're going to win the fucking third one.
Let's go.
3-peat, baby.
3-peat, man.
Shout out to the 3-peat.
All right. Anything else, guys?
No, man.
No.
You said it all with that one. That's how you do it right there.
Shut everybody down at that point.
All right. We out.
We out of here.
See it.
No losses, I don't do lipo. A few screws loose in the head, I'm a psycho. Promise you the bar, just as real as the bike though. Misunderstood, you can call me a typo. I shine hotter than the stars in the night though. Hate the who's, don't give me a title. Flipping an asset, so I don't worry the price though. Got scratched like mine, no, leave it to the tribal. I ain't even trying to try though. I can do this with my eyes closed. If I got nothing on my goals, my girl ain't plastic, she don't even recycle. All these kids just wanna be idols. All these kids just wanna be rival. I need something way more than viral. I need something way more than viral. Gotta be something way more than idol. Be careful not to get too close, I might just go.